My name's David Jones at Tenacious D Jones on Twitter, Tenacious D Jones on DraftKings on the leaderboards. I'm here on the Mayo Media Network. Please like and subscribe to the video below. Subscribe to the network, like the video. Please no dislikes. We don't like dislikes. As I say that, some of you funny guys are going to be out there trying to dislike the video. Don't do it. We just want the likes this go round. I'm here to talk to you about the DraftKings Showdown slate, specifically the Sunday night Showdown slate. We didn't have our Thursday night football slate, so I couldn't talk about it with anybody because it didn't exist. We had a Tuesday night, we had a Monday night. Next week we might have a Wednesday afternoon for all I know. COVID is weird, but we're still getting football. Let's keep pushing this season along. Before I forget, I am at FTN. You can see on my hat that is Fade the Noise. You've heard us on Sirius. You've seen us taking over your Twitter timelines. Join the movement. Thanks for watching. So, who do we have playing on Sunday night? Well, it's going to be the Battle of California. Two of the California teams. They have about 10. It's going to be the Rams over at the Bay Area at the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are favored by 3. The point total for this game is 52. That seems a little bit high. We'll see. We'll break it down, see if we like it. I think the Rams win this game. I think that they're a better team, so it makes sense that they're favored here, even though you don't typically see that, road teams are favored in NFL games. So it might give me a little bit of pause. Let's jump into it. At quarterback, the most expensive player is Jared Goff. If I'm looking at his captain price, which is 1.5x of his flex price, he is $16,200. Goff has been playing well. I like Goff's weapons, and I've been impressed with how he's looked this season. All but one game, he's had a good game. That was against the Giants, oddly enough. Just didn't get it going. But against Washington, close to 30 DK points. Buffalo over 30. Second game, at Philly, 23.98 points. The Dallas game was kind of a throwaway. We'll call it rust in the first game. So 3 good games, 3 of the last 4. There you go. By the way, Philly, he went for 3 touchdowns against Philly. Chase Claypool caught 4 touchdowns against Philly. Just off the board thing here, you might want to consider is to target Philly when Philly's playing football. That's how you do it. So, Jared Goff, although I don't like quarterbacks at the captain spot a lot of the time because I like pass catchers because you get 1 point per reception for pass catchers, I do think Goff's in for at least a pair of touchdowns here. I think Kupp's going to get involved. I think you could get some Josh Reynolds, actually. We'll get down there and we start scraping the bottom of the barrel. But Goff, he's my second favorite captain. I want to go to some Goff captain teams this week. But I've got guys that I like below him. Goff is a very good flex play, though. He would be in almost all of my teams at flex or captain. Goff, good play. George Kittle below him, fantastic tight end. 2 weeks ago, he got 15 of 15 passes. It was absolutely incredible. How do you catch all 15 passes? How do you get 15 targets? And how do you catch all 15 targets? He went for 183 yards and a touchdown. That's a ton. Oh, by the way, that was against Philadelphia. Should I just beat up on Philadelphia the entire show? I can't wait to target them next time they play. Anyways, I think he might be a little too expensive for me at the captain spot on this particular slate going up against the Rams. I think that there's better ways to attack this slate for captain. Yes, Kittle, very solid floor, super high ceiling as we saw against Philadelphia. I think I want to reserve him for flex. Personally, he's my 4th favorite captain. Great play, great player. Something about it's just not lining up for me. When you have San Francisco probably playing from behind, towards the end of the game in the 4th quarter, midway through the 3rd, he'll probably be more involved. I'm kind of scripting this out for San Francisco to try and keep it on the ground the first half of the game, get behind, try and catch up. Kittle, sure, if you want to go there with your first captain, I'm not going to argue. He's going to be my 4th. After him, you've got Raheem Mostert. Just like I was saying, he's 14,700. Just like I was saying, I think San Francisco tries to keep the Rams offense off the field the beginning of the game. Hopefully they can get some scores, get ahead, and try and run the clock out, because I think that might be one of the ways that they could potentially win this game with perhaps a last-second field goal attempt. So Mostert, I do like Mostert. There's not as many question marks in that backfield as you have with the Rams. We know he's going to get the lion's share of the work, although the lion's share has been in between 15 to as low as 8 at one point touches. Last week against Miami, he got 11 attempts. 90 yards, though, didn't get a touchdown. However, he's still involved in the passing game. He's been involved in the passing game no matter who is injured behind him in the RB2 or 3 spot. For every game he has played this season, he got 3 receptions on 3 targets for 29 yards. Last time out, I like Mostert. I have Mostert ranked as my 3rd favorite captain. So far we have Kupp. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert, Kupp's coming up. We have Goff 2nd captain, Mostert 3rd, Kittle 4th. And I'll just go ahead and jump to Kupp since I spoiled it. Cooper Kupp, $13,500. I was looking at the wide receiver cornerback matchup tool over at ftndaily.com, and Kupp has the best matchup in this game against his defender. So he should primarily be seeing Taylor, the defensive back for the 49ers, and it's the best spot. You've got a couple other decent spots around him. Josh Reynolds has a good spot. You've got Kendrick Bourne with a pretty decent spot. You've got Deebo Samuels with a just okay spot. He'll be seeing a lot of Jalen Ramsey. Cooper Kupp's got the best spot here. Cooper Kupp is the most trusted wide receiver for Jared Goff. We know that, and we know that he can stack up receptions. I mean, he's getting targeted a ton in one game so far this season against Buffalo, which is a great matchup. We played him over at ftndaily.com. He got 9 receptions on 10 targets. I think the 49ers is a very soft spot as well. He could get targeted 9-10 times here again. He's going to get you double-digit points. I can guarantee that. If he gets in the end zone, couple end zone games he's had against the Giants, 17.7, Buffalo 28.7, gets in the end zone, which I think is likely. He could break 20 for you. I think he's a good value, especially where he's priced right now. He can score more than Kittle, who costs, $2,000 more than him. He can get over Mostert. He can get close to Goff. He's a great value. I've got Cooper Kupp ranked as my number 1 wide receiver and my number 1 captain. I skipped over Jimmy Garoppolo because I had to touch on Kupp. There's a little bit of QB controversy. We know Garoppolo didn't come in the second half of the game. Last time out, you had Mullins coming in. You had Beathard coming in. We feel uncertain about Jimmy Garoppolo's role. However, we know that the coaching staff has come out and said Jimmy G is our guy. So Jimmy G should be good to go here unless he goes out and gets re-injured, and you cannot predict injuries. I think he's going to play. He's an okay flex play. I mean, he's all right. If I made 100 teams, I might put him on 40 of my teams, something like that. So let's call it, 4 out of 10, however you want to say it, 40%. Jimmy Garoppolo, not that high on him this game. The Rams are certainly better against the pass than the 49ers are, and if I want to attack the pass, then I'm just going to play Rams wide receivers. So we're going to go down. I'm going to skip over Mullins. I'm going to skip over these backup quarterbacks for San Francisco. Obviously, if you hear that one of them is starting, you can consider them. However, they're priced pretty close to Jimmy G, and I just don't love the position for the quarterback. Or the spot, I should say, for the San Francisco quarterbacks. Next up, position player, Robert Woods, $12,600. I actually have him ranked 3rd on best wide receiver cornerback matchups, or FTN Daily has him ranked 3rd in this game going against San Francisco. But Woods, we know he can go out there and should be just as capable as Cooper Kupp. We know that they let him run a couple routes. He gets to rush the ball a few times. They do some option stuff with Woods. Is it going to happen this game? He'll get an attempt or two. I don't know, but I like him at the flex. I do not have him as my captain. He's actually my 3rd favorite wide receiver, which sounds gross on this team. I just like the matchup and the price for Mr. Josh Reynolds. So we'll talk about him when we get to him. But Woods, solid floor. If you want to go passing game attack against San Francisco, I don't hate you for it. So now we're getting into what's going on with these Rams running backs. You've got Henderson, you've got Brown, you've got Akers. They all essentially get the same amount of carries. Well, Henderson has gotten more the past week or two, but Brown and Akers both are healthy now. Last week, Brown got 8, Akers got 9. Brown put up 30 on the ground. Akers got more out of his 9 carries with 61 yards. You still have to like Henderson here over the other two just because of how much he's going to get the ball in his hands more, one would think. So I know if you go back to like the Giants game, he didn't get as many attempts. But if you go back and look at Buffalo, you look at Philly, you look at Washington, I know the backfield wasn't completely healthy at that time. He seems to be the lead back. I know in week 1 against Dallas, I think it was, he didn't touch the ball much. It was Brown with a coming out party, but that didn't seem to sustain itself. I like Henderson, and I think you got to have one of these Rams running backs in one of your flex spots. Henderson's 7,600 if you're just looking at the flex price, which I'm going to switch over and just do flex prices from here on out. He is 7,600. You've got Brown at 1,600. You've got Akers at 2,000. There's just such a huge price discrepancy there that I don't hate if you want to go down to Brown at 1,600 instead of Henderson, or if you want to take a shot on Akers to get in the end zone. I don't hate it because that is such a huge price discrepancy, and we're playing a showdown slate here. We see what happens on showdown slates. So think about what happened in the Buffalo game. TJ Yeldon got a touchdown. Just go back and look at the weird touchdowns in every single game, and that's how you win the big money. So if you're playing cash or something, yeah, Henderson. If you want to take a shot on a Brown or an Akers for a lot cheaper and stack up your other skill positions, I don't hate you for that either. Henderson's fine with me at a flex. Tyler Higbee, the Los Angeles Rams tight end, going up against San Francisco. We saw Everett have a better week last week, but I think that's kind of an outlier. Higbee's still the starting guy here, and it was a great matchup for tight ends last week. They were just able to get Everett more involved. It should go back to being the Tyler Higbee show, I would think, here today. Or on Sunday, excuse me. His targets have been a little bit lower than we like, especially after he blew up against guess who? Philadelphia Eagles in week 2 with 3 touchdowns, I believe it was. Yeah, he went off 3 touchdowns, but those are the only touchdowns he has gotten this entire season. It could be a bounce back spot for him once they get down close to the end zone. He can also help stretch the field, I would say more so than Everett, and help get you down there. So I do not mind him whatsoever at the flex spot. I think the Rams are going to thrive through the passing game here, and he's a big part of that. Below him, we have Deebo Samuels. Only $6,200 for Deebo Samuels. You got to love it. He came back against Philly in week 4, did not get a lot of playing time. He was up, I think, to almost 80% last week against Miami. 8 targets, guys and gals, 8 targets. He only caught 2 of them, but we saw it with Deebo Samuels. He's the most talented wide receiver on their roster, and he should really get going. I think Deebo Samuels is going to be in most of my lineups at $6,200. The thing about Samuels, he's going to primarily see Jalen Ramsey. I'm not that scared of Jalen Ramsey. It's a showdown slate. Anything can happen. Deebo can be better than Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, to me, has taken a bit of a step back, and he's got a very famous name, and people are scared to go after him if they even know that Samuel is going to be seeing him primarily most of the time. However, the price is just too good on Deebo Samuels. Deebo Samuels is also a guy that they will let take a couple runs out of the backfield. I think they let him throw last year once. I'm not saying they're going to let it happen this time, but he is as close to a Swiss Army knife as the San Francisco 49ers have, and his price is just too cheap. He's the best receiver on the team. He's going to be close to 85-90% of snaps, I would think, this week, just guessing from the trend that we're seeing. So I think he's a great play, $6,200. Now you're starting to look at like the Rams defense. You can take a flyer on them if you want. It's a defense. How do you project or predict those? The next wide receiver up, Brandon Aiyuk for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, last week, 3 receptions for 45 on 6 targets. He's okay. I don't love it. He gets a little worse, in my opinion, with Deebo back. You saw, like, against the Giants, he had a great game. 8 targets for 21.1 DraftKings points against Philly. The theme of the show, apparently. 13.6 DraftKings points against Miami. When Deebo got back and more involved, he's taken a little bit of a step back. But you're probably going to have one of these pass catchers for San Francisco. We talked about the theory with Kittle towards the end of the game. They might have to get him going if they're trailing. Same with Aiyuk. Same if, for say, Jalen Ramsey is getting the best of Deebo Samuel, it would go to Aiyuk. So take a shot on him if you want. I might have him in 25-30% of my teams. I think I would prefer Kendrick Bourne, though. Kendrick Bourne is going to be seeing Troy Hill for most of the time. Kendrick Bourne is cheaper. He's $3,200, and he gets targeted in the red zone, guys. I mean, People like to make fun of Kendrick Bourne before the start of the season, but what do you know? I was on Kendrick Bourne. I loved him last year too, actually. He's been just fine this season. People, he last week 4 targets, 6 before that, 6 before that, 5 before that. Yes, you can make the argument that Deebo Samuel's back just like I did for Aiyuk. However, he should still be getting plenty of snaps and getting his number called plenty of times. I like Kendrick Bourne going against Troy Hill. It's a better matchup than Jalen Samuels has, and he's cheaper than Deebo Samuels has, and he is cheaper, so I do like him. Guys in the middle I didn't touch on. George Everett, we know he had that big game last week. It raised his price up pretty significantly. He had 90 yards and 13 points. I don't think that's going to be repeated here. I don't have a lot of faith in Everett. I think what you need from him is a touchdown. You're looking at some of the kickers. You can play a kicker if you want. Josh Reynolds is down here, $2,600. I think Josh Reynolds is in a pretty good spot going up against Weatherspoon here. He's the starting 3 wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams here. And they only play 3 wide receivers. Van Jefferson gets a target every now and then. Not big into him. I don't think I can go and play him. These others guys, Jackson, Webster, they don't throw it to them enough. Josh Reynolds is at least going to get targets. He's gotten over 4 targets in 3 of the last 5 games, the 3 last games, as a matter of fact. And, is he as talented as Kupp or Woods? No, he's not. But he's a body that's going to be in there for super cheap going up against a defense that's not good at protecting against the pass. So I think Josh Reynolds is just fine. And I think him and Bourne are both very good, cheap wide receivers who you can count on getting a high volume here. Below them, you've got Jerick McKinnon. So we can talk about these San Francisco backs. Mostert obviously leading the way. You've got McKinnon, who's primarily now the passing back. But you also have Jeff Wilson, who will get involved in that somewhat. And Jeff Wilson will come in when they're close to the goal line because he is a short yardage back. Jerick McKinnon is fine. Look, he's not going to get the rushing attempts that he did against Philly and against New York. However, he'll get targeted through the air 4 or 5 times. He just needs to break a long one. I wouldn't expect, what he did against Philly with 22 points or the Giants 16. But against the Jets, in kind of the same role here, he got, 1 touchdown and 77 yards and only 3 attempts. Of course, he broke a huge run, and that's not a sustainable thing. But he does have the skill set to get loose. He's only $2,400. What I would caution you on is don't play too many of the running backs. Like, you don't want a team with Raheem Mostert, with McKinnon, with Jeff Wilson. Maybe 2 of the 3. The price would make sense because 2, Wilson and McKinnon, are so cheap. Same goes for the Rams. You don't want Henderson, Brown, and Akers all on the same team. 2 of the 3, and don't play the 2 cheap ones together. Like, don't play Brown and Akers together, and don't play McKinnon and Jeff Wilson together. And if you're playing 2 running backs, be careful about playing the quarterback with just 2 running backs and no wide receivers. It doesn't tend to make a ton of sense. I think you got to have a wide receiver from each team or a tight end, quite frankly. Scanning down here towards the bottom, is there anyone else that I want to take a look at? Van Jefferson, not so much. He would be your absolute punt, $400 guy. I mean, he's gotten targeted in every game he's played this season except for week 5. But he's just not doing it yet. I don't think he's ready personally. Pettis, no. None of these guys down at the bottom. So I think that about wraps it up. To recap, my favorite captain is going to be Cooper Kupp, followed by Jared Goff. Then I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert. Then I'm going to go with George Kittle. Remember, the Rams are very tight with their wide receivers. Cooper Kupp, Woods, Reynolds, those are your guys. The 49ers, it's Aiyuk, Bourne, Samuel, and then they might mix in a little Trent Taylor, a little Kevin White, but I'd stick to Aiyuk, Bourne, and Samuel. Where it's going to be 1 is if you're picking the correct running back for both teams, because essentially you have 6 running backs you can pick from. That's what makes showdowns with the Rams hard, quite frankly, is you've got to pick the guy. Henderson obviously getting more snaps, but if I'm picking a cheap guy, I would probably go Brown. If you're going over and looking at the 49ers, Mostert I think is far and away better than McKinnon and Jeff Wilson. I would take McKinnon after Mostert, but Mostert's the top guy. So I hope you take it down, guys. Sorry we didn't have football on Thursday. Sorry I couldn't talk to you, but we've got it on Sunday night. We've got a big slate of games on Sunday. Please follow me on Twitter at TenaciousDJones. Follow me at FTN Fade the Noise Network, at FTN Daily, FTN Bets. We had a huge FTN Bets week. If you're into betting, we're into betting. Come ride the hot hand with us. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and remember to smash that like button below.